My corona virus. What's up, guys? Driverman here, aka Jose. Welcome back to the Driverman channel, reporting to you from LA. Feeling a lot better. Still not 100%, but definitely a lot better than I have been for the last week. Anywho, coronavirus is causing some apparent extra outward, deep-seated, within the bowels of, certain people to come out, racism, outward, expressive, thoughts and feelings in words, and hurting people's, feelings and offending people. So, no bueno. Yeah, there's been, several cases where drivers have been afraid and concerned about picking up any passengers of Asian descent because, the average person who's not Asian cannot necessarily tell if someone is, whether they're Chinese, Korean, Japanese, or, Taiwanese, or Thai, whatever. It's kind of tough to tell sometimes, although there are some clear distinctions. A lot of people are also mixed too. Maybe they're half Chinese, half Korean, and half Thai, half Japanese. So anybody of, Asian descent is getting, a little bit of a not so good facial expression from their driver because of the whole coronavirus thing. There was a specific case in Seattle where a guy with the last name Han got into an Uber and coughed, and supposedly because it was cold. This was, in Seattle, and the driver asked if, the guy was from China. Hey, are you from China? No, I'm not. And then the guy said, oh, okay, no, I'm not. I'm from the U.S. And apparently the driver was like, okay, yeah, whatever you say, and opened the window, I guess hoping that, whatever he coughed out would go that way and away from him, thinking that he might possibly have the coronavirus. Another case in San Francisco, a girl got into an Uber, or she was trying to get into an Uber apparently, and was not able to get in until one of her white friends showed up. This one was either San Francisco or London. This might be the London one. But yeah, in any case, in either one of those two cities, she didn't want to let them in until they would. And then when they did get in, the driver asked, oh, are you guys from China? And they said, no, they just got back from Mexico. And the guy was like, okay, so not China? Okay. And that bothered them, so they reported the incident, and Uber responded back saying, or Lyft, I think it was Lyft. That's why I include a link to the article for a little, tidbits. They reported to the passengers, we have removed this driver from the platform. Then there was another case where they had already piled in to the car. It was a group of Koreans. They got into the car, and the driver kind of went like, waved them off, indicating, oh, I don't want you in my car. And then they said, oh, we're not from China. And then apparently the guy's demeanor completely changed and was happy to take them to their destination. Another case was a guy on a shared Lyft ride, and another rider had appeared in the app, got pinged to be picked up, and it showed the profile picture, and the person was visibly of Asian descent and had the name Hero. And so the driver said something about like, oh, Hero from Chinatown. Gosh, I sure hope he doesn't give me the coronavirus. And the passenger reported him as well. But there were some that were not reported. Two of those were actually not reported. They just some people are not offended very easily. I believe it was the first guy in Seattle didn't report it, just kind of tried to laugh it off, the guy with the last name Han. And then the ones the ones with the Koreans, they didn't report it either. But apparently the other two did get reported, as far as the ones who, at first didn't want to let them in, who had been from Mexico, and the other one who, whose picture pulled up. Those two got reported. One of them was apparently deactivated, and the other one, we're not really sure. But yeah, this is definitely, freaking people out. I kind of get it. You keep on seeing on the news, another case has been confirmed. First case in, Orange County. First case in the U.S. First case in L.A. First case in wherever. And so now people are freaking out. Unfortunately, it's bringing out the ugly side. And any, Asian person, with Uber drivers are afraid to pick them up. Which is not good, unfortunately, because not everybody, of course, it's Asian is Chinese. And even if they are, it doesn't mean that they have it. They might not be from that specific Wuhan province, although it has spread to other areas at this point. And it's even spread to Korea. There's even cases in Korea and Japan. So even if they're not Chinese, some guy from Japan who's in your car, even if he's not from China, maybe he's from Japan, he or she, heck, they could have it. Or the Korean could have it. Or somebody from Thailand could have it. Or even the white person who gets into your car could have it because maybe they contracted it from somebody, their roommate or their coworker who recently came back from that area. So the whole thing of asking if a person is Chinese is still not even going to save you. Even if they say, oh, we're not Chinese, it doesn't mean that they're not going to have the coronavirus. Anybody could have the freaking coronavirus. That's the reality, guys. For any of you drivers out there, any of them could have it. Koreans could have it, a Japanese could have it, a Thai could have it, a white person could have it, an Australian could have it at this point. So you shouldn't necessarily be like, hey, are you Chinese? It's not just the Chinese, although that is where it originated. It's not just them. So you're not safe just by not picking up the Chinese, just so you know. Maybe you're reducing your chance. Maybe, if you're asking people, whether or not they're, they arrived from China. But, yeah, got to be careful, of course. If you're driving, maybe wear a face mask and goggles if you're that freaked out about it. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to be racist towards it. I'm not being racist anyway. Even if it was like that, I'm not going to be asking, hey, are you from China? I think I would just, if I was still giving rides, which I haven't in months, I would maybe just wear a face mask and goggles. At this point, I'm just delivering food and packages. That's where, that's how I'm rocking right now lately. So I'm not worried about that. And neither should you, as long as you, protect yourself and you just don't make out with your passengers or have sex with your passengers. At this point, maybe not for a while until the pandemic has been cleared, because it is now a global pandemic. Obviously, those are things that have happened in the past, and, those are things that I've done as well. Yes, of course, I have kissed some female passengers, but I wouldn't recommend you do any of that right, currently. And, yeah, don't be racist. So just protect yourself if you're that worried about it. There are 11 confirmed cases in the U.S. currently, out of the more than 17,000 cases globally. A lot of those have resulted in deaths. I think there's been over 100, or maybe close to 1,000 even at this point. It's tough. One article will say over 100, and then the next day there'll be an article saying, oh no, it's actually almost at 1,000 deaths now. I'm not sure. That's why I leave a link to the article in the description, and you can, of course, do a little more research on the exact numbers currently. But what I read from the article that I'm basing this off of is 11 confirmed cases in the U.S. Out of 17,000 currently worldwide. Something like this apparently happened during the, the whole Ebola virus too, which was happening, several years ago. People were freaking out about black people, and shouting out expletives and the N-word and stuff like that for anybody who was black. Oh, take your virus back to Africa and stuff like that. And so now they're, doing that with, go back to China or whatever. Stay in China. Yeah, it's just, unfortunately, it brings out the ugly side of people. But people shouldn't have that ugly side in the first place. Racism. It's just toxic and ugly. I'm not a fan of it. I am not racist myself. I think it's really crappy. There are good people and bad people of any color. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good black people. There's a lot of really, really good Asian people. There's a lot of really bad white people. Yes, there are a lot of good white people too, but there's a lot of bad ones, who start school shootings and things like that within our own country. You could get killed by that, more like there was just a shooting on a bus, like just the other day. I mean, you could be killed from that just as easily, or if not more, likely than this virus, from someone from another country. You're more in danger maybe from people here, that live in the country, than, from, a foreigner carrying a virus, It's logically, it reasonably does not make sense if you think about it. The flu has claimed 10,000 deaths. The flu, you're more likely just to die from just the flu, the regular flu, than this, coronavirus. So, of course, protect yourself, but just be aware that, this whole, being racist towards people, it's not going to save you, And it's really shitty. It just makes you a toxic, ugly soul. That's the truth, Good and bad people of any color, It doesn't matter what country they're from. You're going to find good and bad people in that country, good and bad people in this country, good and bad people there, here, and there. It's not a certain color. There's a lot of bad cops, yes, but there's also a lot of good cops. Not all cops are bad. Not all cops are good. Same thing. Some are unfortunately choose to be bad people, and they make the force look bad, but they're not all bad. But yes, of course, be aware. Have your recording devices and things like that. Yeah, record what the interaction that you have with them. Protect yourself, but just be aware that they're not all bad. There's just some bad people who happen to be cops. There's some bad people who happen to be black. There's some bad people who happen to be Chinese. Some bad people who happen to be white. Some bad people who happen to be Latino. Some bad people who happen to be Native American, etc., etc. I could go on and sound like a broken record, but I think I've said enough on this piece. So I will wish you guys excellent week, a money-making week, this first week of February. Boom! Do it, baby! Make that money, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.